Crafting in Guild Wars 2 differs greatly from most MMO crafting systems. As a new player, it can be confusing and overwhelming. When I first started crafting it back in 2012, I was definitely confused. But now I have answers to some of the most common questions you may have. You might be wondering if it's even worth bothering with crafting, what you stand to gain from it, and what you can even craft. Well, let's talk about that. First and foremost, crafting grants you experience, so you don't have to worry about pausing your character's progress. Getting a crafting discipline to its maximum level will grant you 10 levels, and a character can take 2 disciplines at a time by default, meaning you can gain 20 levels without even leaving a town if you have enough materials. Also, regardless of the discipline you choose, you can craft backpacks as you level up. Backpacks are notoriously difficult to acquire during your leveling journey, and they provide additional stats. Higher numbers mean more dopamine, so stick with me here, folks. Additionally, you will eventually need these disciplines if you want to craft the highest quality ascended and legendary equipment in the game, so it's best to start now. You can also use crafting to make money, or at the very least save yourself money when working towards some achievements or gear. Now that you have all the reasons you need to dive into a crafting discipline, let's talk about what each crafting discipline does. There are currently 9 crafting disciplines in the game, which we will divide into 3 categories: armor crafting, weapon crafting, and specialty. As you progress and begin to work on more complex ascended or legendary recipes, you will discover that each discipline has its own nuances. However, for now, we will focus on the core aspects. Let's begin with armor crafting. The most straightforward, armor crafting is where I place armorsmith, leatherworker, and tailor crafting disciplines. Each of these disciplines goes up to level 500. Armorsmiths forge heavy armor, used by the soldier classes Warrior, Guardian, and Revenant. They also create metal boxes for bag slots or runes for upgrade slots on armor. Leatherworkers sculpt the medium armor worn into battle by the Adventurer classes, Engineers, Rangers, and Thieves. They create leather packs for bag slots and also create runes for upgrade slots. Tailors weave the light armor worn by Scholars. Those are the Elementalists, Mesmers, and Necromancers of Tyria. You may be noticing a pattern by now, as they also create cloth bags for bag slots and runes for upgrade slots. Up next, we have weapon crafting disciplines. This is your weaponsmith, huntsman, and artificer disciplines. They're responsible for packing the populace with pointy objects of pain. Each of these disciplines also goes up to level 500. First up is weaponsmith. They shape melee weapons and shields. This includes all manner of axes, daggers, swords, greatswords, maces, hammers, spears, and of course, shields. They also create sharpening stone buff items you can use to increase your character's power stat based on certain other stats temporarily and boost experience earned, and make sigils to use in weapon upgrade slots. The Huntsman discipline creates projectile weapons and some offhand utility items. This includes short bows, long bows, pistols, rifles, harpoon guns, torches, and war horns. They also create maintenance oils, increasing your character's concentration based on certain other stats temporarily and boosting experience earned. They also make sigils to use in weapon upgrade slots. The final weapon crafting discipline is the Artificer, and this is where it starts to get a bit weirder. They craft the magical weapons, which are Focus, Staff, Scepter, and Trident. Like the others, they also make sigils for weapon upgrade slots. They create tuning crystals, which increase your character's condition damage based on other stats of your character and boost your experience earned. After that is where it gets a bit more interesting. Artificers can also concoct potions, which are essentially buffs towards specific types of enemies. For example, this weak potion of centaur slaying for all you humans out there, increasing damage done to centaurs and reducing damage done by centaurs to you, and buffing your experience from all kills temporarily. Lastly, they can brew tonics, which are used to give you a cosmetic transformation into various creatures of Tyria. The final division is up now, what I consider the more specialty crafts. These are not focused towards any one type of character, but instead making things useful for any character. First up is the last gear crafter on the list, the Jeweler. They craft the amulets, rings, and earrings needed for heroes of Tyria to make the most of their build. They also craft jewels to be used in their crafting, but also as upgrade components to place into trinkets of exotic or lower rarity upgrade slots. Also creates some gifts for legendary weapons. This discipline only goes up to level 400. The chef is a profession all about cooking food. This food varies in its effects. There's food in the chef's catalog for every type of stat boost you could ever need in this this game, and all of it boosts your experience earned. Chefs eventually gain the ability to make feasts, which they can place down to give everyone a chance to take a bite and get amazing buffs. You'll often see these used for raids, world versus world, or large meta events to optimize the group. They can also make dyes to flesh out your cosmetic library. This discipline goes to level 500, but once you reach 450, there's a sort of achievement-based quest you'll need to go on to complete to get to 500 that will also unlock a few things, including a home instance node to plant your own plants to harvest daily. Lastly is the newest crafting profession introduced in Heart of Thorns, and that is Scribe. This discipline does require you to have the Heart of Thorns expansion, and unlike all the others is learned in a guild hall, not any of the major crafting locations. This discipline focuses on creating guild siege weapons, improvements and tactics for world versus world, guild decorations, and guild banners for buffs. This discipline caps out at level 400. Now that I've given you a rundown on each of the disciplines and what they do, I just know you're dying to know how to unlock them. Don't worry, it's super simple. You can technically go get a crafting discipline as soon as you get out of your tutorial instance, but you don't really have much use with it until you've been adventuring and gathering materials for a while. For some reason, the game will say you've unlocked it at level 12, but I was able to grab it on a level 3 human warrior I just made while filming this video to triple check this fact. The only reason I even made it to level 3 is by accidentally leveling up while exploring towards the township of Claypool. When you're ready to choose your disciplines, in each starter zone there is a mini hub town that has a bank as well as each of the crafting discipline teachers and their respective workstations. It's located near the midpoint of each starter zone. Otherwise, you can travel to any of the racial capital cities, Lion's Arch, or any other major hub city from later expansions. Lion's Arch is a great spot as everything is centralized all together nicely. In this example, I've taken my fresh human warrior on a run through Queensdale to the township of Claypool. You get to select 2 disciplines here. The only one not being available is the Scribe. If you really want that, you'll need to visit a guild hall. Not that I recommend it, it should probably be the last discipline you worry about if you bother with it at all. Rather, for your first character, I very much recommend taking an armor and weapon craft related most directly to your character and the way you want to play them. For my warrior, I chose armorsmith and weaponsmith. For some of you casters, it may be a bit of a toss-up, since you may actually enjoy weapons like axe, dagger, or greatsword, or you warriors may want rifles and bows. Luckily, with the fluidity of the crafting system, you can easily make alts just for the purpose of crafting for the time being, as you can freely trade your items you make between characters via your bank. I'd love to know what crafting disciplines you select and for what class. Drop a comment down below and let me know. I'll be posting mine as well. This is a good time to bring up that you can technically swap between disciplines on a character and juggle more than 2. If you do this, you do not lose your level progress when you switch back and forth. It's just not really recommended, since you only need 4 characters to get all the basic crafting disciplines, and 5 if you want Scribe. You can also purchase additional crafting licenses from the gem store for 800 gems, boosting how many disciplines you can have on each character from 2 to 4. I really don't recommend this though. Simply making additional characters is a far better solution in my opinion. Once you talk to the master crafter and choose your disciplines, you now have access to the crafting stations of your choosing. Right by the master crafter of your discipline in any crafting location will be that discipline station, where you need to go to perform your tasks. Let's break down what you're looking at. The first tab that will open up is the production tab. This will show you all of your recipes that you know for this discipline. You'll see that many have automatically been given to you. As you continue to level up, you will automatically unlock many new recipes for basic crafting and refining without having to go talk to your trainer countless times. At the top center of this screen, you can see your level and your experience bar. Your level starts at 0, and the top end of the tier you're in, which is 75. This is the novice tier. There are a total of 7 tiers. 0 to 74 is novice, 75 to 149 is initiate, 150 to 224 is apprentice, 225 to 299 is journeyman, 300 to 399 is adept, 400 to 499 is master, and 500 is grandmaster. As you level your profession, the recipes will change color here. Orange means you are close to that item's level and for sure get experience for making it. As you get further away from its level, it will turn yellow, green, blue, white, and finally gray. Each step down is indicating you earning less and less experience per craft. At gray, you will gain no experience ever again. Each level you gain incrementally lowers experience for crafting old items. There's also red, which is something you cannot craft yet, but that you will unlock for crafting in a few more levels. Clicking on any recipe will show you the items you need to craft them. If it's an item that is purchasable from master crafters, or otherwise it generally says, such as the crafter's backpack frame. If it is an ingredient you need to craft with a recipe you have, you can click this magnifying glass and it will take you to that recipe. You can continue to do this until you get to the base you need to start with. You can then click back through the stack to go to a previous recipe. If you are crafting multiple of something, it will gradually speed up with every craft up to a certain point, which is very helpful when mass refining materials. On this panel, you will also see a search bar, which you can type terms in to search for specific recipes. There's also a cogwheel to apply filters. You can limit it to only recipes you have the materials for, ones that will grant you experience, or ones you can equip. You can also limit it by the quality of item produced, or the tier of crafting required for it. On the left, there is access to the bank, which is helpful if you're making items for another character, because you can just drop it in the bank and you're done. There's also the material storage tab, which shows you what materials you have stored up. This also means that your crafting will automatically pull resources from both your bank and your material storage. You do not have to withdraw them manually and then craft it. There's also the wardrobe tab here, in case you wanted to take a look. Going back up to the top of the crafting panel is the Discovery tab. This is where Guild Wars 2 crafting gets a little complicated. Not all recipes can be bought, and in fact, some of your best crafting experience comes from that fact. They need to be discovered. Discovering an item requires you to have the materials available for that item, and then place them into the Discovery tab. As you add each item, it will give you information on your discovery attempt and limit what you can add. For example, adding this insignia shows that I need a required rating or crafting level of 0, which means I can make whatever I'm trying to make. It then grays out items that are not used for this item. It also shows that there are X amount of unknown recipes possible from this item, and that I need to add more compatible ingredients. I can then use the context clues by ignoring all grayed out items to keep adding things until I find a recipe that works, and then click the craft button. Discovering a recipe in this manner grants you a bonus of 100 to 150% of experience on top of the normal crafting experience for that recipe, meaning discovery is some of the best bang for your buck as far as material use to experience goes. When I leveled most of my crafting profession, the leveling guides hadn't been plotted out yet, and I spent a lot of time on this page. If you want to level yourself, I would recommend placing a priority on discovery, as it will flush out your available recipes quite nicely and use the least possible total materials compared to slamming out the same items over and over and over again, though you will still probably need to do that at times. In my experience, cooking is the most painful to do without a guide and requires layers upon layers of crafting items into other items to then discover compared to the other disciplines. Tips and tricks. Additional recipes can be purchased by various merchants throughout Tyria with either gold, karma, or unique currencies. This includes heart vendors. You can purchase and learn recipes even without having that discipline unlocked on that character, or even leveled to that point as they are account-wide. Keep an eye out on your adventures. The master crafters that you learn from are also merchants of recipes and even materials you need for crafting and refining. While you can certainly level up your crafting disciplines on your own, the website guildwars2crafts.net has various guides on how to level up each discipline in different ways that will show you the costs, exact items needed, what to craft and when to craft it, and more. You can even create an API key to have it pull your Guild Wars 2 bank, material storage, and inventory status, so it will show you exactly what you need to buy. If you don't know how to generate an API key, it's simple. You can log into the ArenaNet website and click on the Applications tab of your account, then click New Key. You can then name the key and choose what permissions to give it. For Guild Wars 2 Crafts, it will need the inventories and unlocks permissions to work fully. You have a few options with gear you create. You can try to sell it to vendors or the trading post to make some of your money back. You can also salvage it to get a piece or two of material back from it. However, I would recommend you purchase a research kit and use it to deconstruct anything you've created. There is a checkbox that they recently added to the crafting menu to automatically turn anything you create into research notes, but it seems to only be able to be done when you are not discovering things. So you would still need to buy a research kit from your master crafter to turn any discoveries into research notes. This is new to End of Dragons, but does not require having End of Dragons to purchase and use. Doing this will start getting you research notes as you level up, so by the time you reach the point where you can do anything with them, you'll have a little nest egg. Lower level items don't give much, but considering deconstructing crafted items is the only way to get them, you may as well start now. Now you've got a solid framework and even some advanced tips on how to set yourself up for success with crafting. But in order to do that, you're going to need some materials. So click on this video here to find out everything you need to know about gathering and salvaging materials to fuel your crafting machine.